Welcome into Duckpin TV's coverage of the 2020 Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Classic, the 90th annual Eastern Classic, we should add. I'm Brian Ewing, joined in the booth today by Pat Rufo.
Good to be back, Brian.
And Jim Kaufman.
Hello there.
All right. Just walking off the lane now on your screen, that's Mark Anastasi. We're tracking him right now as he is currently in 5th place on our leaderboard. He is currently in his 10th game. In his first set of 6 games, he had 876, a pretty good, respectable score. He started this round of 6 games with 151, 151, 116. And as you can see on the scoreboard to the left of your screen, he has 106 through 6 frames, started with 5 marks in a row. We're also tracking Brandon Dominique. He just finished up his 9th game, which was a 182 to add to a 159 and 136 to start this block of 6 games. He's at 1321, 146.8 average. So he's got a little work to do to catch up to the mark Chris Kruger put up. He's in the clubhouse, 12 games, 1808. Other bowlers we're tracking are John Esposito. He's actually going to be a bowler on this screenshot, on this camera angle. Bowlers are shifting around after their 9th game here, so bear with us as we catch up with them. That's John Esposito there in the Jason Varitek jersey, number 33. Well, all right, Pat and Jim, what have you seen so far today from those bowlers we just mentioned? And how do you expect things to play out? Maybe we'll start with you, Pat.
Well, Chris Kruger had an awesome first block, came out of the gates in the second block, looked like he was going to put up a solid 1850, 1860, and then the pace might have slowed down a little bit, and the pressure of the 10th, 11th, and 12th games might have come into play, but he ended up averaging just above 150 for an average, just a little bit over 1,800. Brandon Dominique and Mark Anastasi, they are in a position where they can make a run, but they're bowling really well in this block, and they still need, Brandon still needs almost a 500 set closing it out to take the lead. So it's a tough run.
Well, Jim, you've been watching Brandon a little bit. What do you see? Does he have a 500 set in him potentially?
Well, if he keeps at the pace from last game when he had 182, absolutely. He's completely locked in the pocket just about every ball. I think I might have seen him miss one single since we started the second block here. So he's definitely bowling well, definitely capable of maintaining that. But that's the key. It gets tougher and tougher as you get each game deeper into this tournament to perform at a high level. And given that he was sub 900 for his first block, it's even more of an uphill climb. He has to do more than 900 this block to get into contention.
Right.
We saw it happen to Chris Kruger. The 9th box of the 11th game was like kind of the bell ringer. And everything kind of went not totally downhill, but it got hard.
Right.
Yeah. We'll update you on John Esposito in a second. This is Mark Anastasi up on lane 3 there in the camo hat.
Just dropping 9 like you read about.
Yeah, he marked the first 5 frames. Strike, 8 drop, 9 drop, 9 drop, 9 drop, 9 drop, miss, and now a 9 drop here. So he's certainly locked in. This is going to be an interesting last 3 games for this group. Especially with the way Mark and Brandon have been bowling, though Mark has just missed that single.
2 singles in a row. We saw that in the 12th game of the first shift. Bowlers that were in contention struggling to convert singles. And
yeah, you know what this tells me? He made the pin for the 10 both times. Right, his first ball's been locked in. That tells me there's a little nervousness going on here.
Yep.
Right, he's just rushing or something on that second ball because it's getting to crunch time. He's slowing down again on that third ball, like following that approach that he knows works every time. Got to calm down a little bit, I think.
That's the key to this tournament. I mean, first of all, you have to be bowling well, but then you have to be able to keep it all together in those big spots, late in each game. It's one thing to miss a spare earlier in the game, but 9th and 10th frames, when you're running out of opportunities to put up a score, that's when those breaks really are magnified. Those are the ones that you need to be making to keep your mental momentum going.
Absolutely. And just to update you on John Esposito there, we actually saw him on the main camera. We just weren't talking about him. Finished with 132, so that moved him down a little bit. He's now in 5th place on our leaderboard. Of course, on the leaderboard, we go by averages. So if the bowler with a 143.2 average, for example, through 9 games, would be to continue that pace. That is where they would finish in the standings. Now, we do have to add, as Mark Anastasi gets up here for his 8th frame, that we do have a number of bowlers, 70 or more, bowling next weekend. Nice strike there for Mark. Would have liked that to be a fill. But as I was saying, we have 70 or more bowlers coming to play next weekend and a lot of heavy hitters. So you want to be at the top of this open division leaderboard for really a chance to stay there and maintain your top 10 status as the heavy hitters come in next weekend.
Right.
Well, we've talked about that. That 150 up top. It's a great score. It's awesome duckpin bowling, but traditionally speaking, it's not enough in this tournament. The level of competition that's coming next weekend and the number of competitors coming next weekend, it's almost inevitable. It's going to go beyond the 150.7, probably approaching 155 or 156 as it has been in the past 3 years.
Yeah. All right, so we just had this group here on our main feed slide over to lanes 17 and 18. We saw Colin Dunnick throw a strike. He struggled a little bit today. We can talk about that after. Brandon Dominique here begins his game with a nice 9 drop, leaving the 4 pin. If there's anywhere we've seen Brandon struggle today, it's on singles, I think.
Missed a couple. I mean, and you're probably, everyone's going to miss some, but ouch. Don't mean to be jinxing anyone, but
yeah. I don't know. It seems like to me, and I haven't had the opportunity to watch Brandon that closely today, but it seems to me like he's taking a little bit off the speed and power of that second ball when he's missed.
And I think that's probably most bowlers. You're trying to be too fine. You're trying to be, trying to lay the ball down in that exact spot to cover your spare. I think sometimes you're not just throwing the same ball. You're trying to aim it, point it, whatever word you want to use. And because of that, you lay it down or you drop your shoulder or something happens and you miss. So it's trying to not get too high or too low mentally. That just keep doing what you're doing. Just try and throw the same, use the same delivery, the same speed, ball after ball after ball.
Yeah. This is Sal Nassisi now, only bowler up on this camera feed. He had a pretty respectable 842 through 6, but has struggled today. Started with a 94, then a 126, picked it up to a 139 in his 9th game. So he's getting back on it, but that 94 kind of brought him out of contention. We'll head back over to lanes 3 and 4. Mark Anastasi up in the 8th frame on a strike.
Laid that one down and got away with it. Initially left 2 or 3 up, and now it's just the 4 pin. So good outcome for that ball. See if you can take advantage of it.
Clearly throws a powerful ball. First ball, when it's in the pocket, there's no chance for the pins. But even off the side like that, he's got a shot at 7 or 8 or 9 every time. And again, the short arm. It's more of a short arm to me. It's like a pitcher's short arm. Like you got to throw that strike, and you just trying to aim it.
Yeah.
Almost.
I mean, what I saw there, Pat, is he rushed his feet on that second ball. So when he got to the line with his left foot, his arm wasn't there.
Yep.
And that caused that short arm.
Well, here's the
You know,
thing,
I
though.
think he's doing his misses have been slightly different than the way Brandon has missed his singles. Jim?
He's missed 3 singles this game, but he can still put a mark up in the 10th and be in the 160s. So you can still gain on that 150, getting to that 150 average. But I'm sure he wished he had those 3 second balls back. But
He's had a break to shoot at every single frame.
right.
Right, and if you're doing that, even if you miss a bunch, you're going to be in pretty good position.
And again, Mark needs. This is real, folks. Mark needs a 5-12 to tie and a 5-13 to take the lead. So he has no room for error right now. Nor does any of the other bowlers on this shift.
We saw Brandon Dominique there in the Bruins jersey, just chop through the head pin. He's off to a rough start. Missed the single in the first frame. Now is still dealing with 5 pins up here on his third ball, and that's going to add to that difficult start of 6 box.
The joy of duck pins, putting 3 balls on the object pin and not much to show for it.
One of his group members, Colin Dunnick, there, you just saw go up and throw a strike. That is that a double for Colin?
Yes,
That's
it
a double
is.
for Colin. We'll mention him right. Well, we'll come back to him in a minute because up on lane 4, it's Mark Anastasi again.
Same exact outcome as last frame, off the right side and leaves just the 4 pin.
He had, I think, 8 boxes with a 9 drop or better.
Yeah, the second frame he went off the side for 8. Everything else has been 9 or better. That's a big one.
Yep.
So Anastasi will move up a bit, not a lot, but he'll move up a few pins, maybe approaching Brandon's average. But he had a shot there for Jim, a monster game. If not only making the 1 pinners, but if any of those 9 drops go, he's got doubles and triples all over the place. 63.
All right, good game despite missing 3 singles. 163 for Mark Anastasi.
Yeah, it's a great game. He jumps up to almost the 146 average. 2 games to go, and again, he needs. He's got to go big. He's got to go 343, 351 going out.
Yeah. All right. We've got a little lull in the action here. So remind you, or welcome in our new viewers, right? If you were with us for shift 1 of the Eastern Classic, you know that our camera setup for you has changed a little bit. This is big screen TV viewing for you. We've got the leaderboard to your right, frame by frame for our top bowlers to the left. We've got a main camera shot up there in the middle that we'll be commentating on. And then a couple of groups will be following at the bottom. If you want to watch them, they're there. You'll never miss a ball. All right, let's catch our breath for a moment. Mark Anastasi's group moving pretty quickly. They're already done with their 10th game. On the other side of the house, over here, Brandon Dominique, John Esposito, just starting their 10th game. So we've got quite the difference in pace between these groups. Colin Dunnick, we were talking about him a few moments ago. He's on a double in the gray shirt here. 8 there on the double.
And on the right-hand side of your screen, 2 lanes over to the right from Colin is John Esposito. He left the 7 pin on his first ball, so 9 fell on his spare in the second. And he covers.
And Colin converts the 2-pinner. We'll talk a little bit about these 2 bowlers for a moment. Colin Dunnick had 808 for his first 6 games. So putting himself in the position to need 1,000, give or take, today in this shift. As we saw Brandon Dominique in the Bruins shirt, drop 6. Difficult split he's going to be shooting at here. Colin told me that he felt like he was throwing the ball at a world record pace yesterday, but chopped, split. The results just weren't there in comparison to how he felt. As we see Brandon with a 7 there. Tough start to this game, really with no room for error. To maintain his average and improve upon it, he started with 23 through 3. John Esposito, on the other hand, he had, for his 6 games in the first block, 871, putting himself in great position. Today, started with 121, 165, 132.
And those are all good scores, Brian. I mean, Duckman bowling is it's a tough sport. It's tough to score high, and you just rattled off like a 420, and it knocked him down a peg, which is it's not discouraging, but it's tough. Makes it tough.
And it's tough, especially after a big game. It seems like maybe you start pressing a little bit harder. You want to have another big game right after that one. Brandon had the 182, and now he's come out with 3 opens, and last 2 frames haven't looked all that good with the 6 box and the 7 box.
We bowl the game, Jim, so we've seen it over and over in every league, every tournament, pro tour. Somebody coming off a game like that, it's so difficult to maintain that momentum. We saw it today. We went 181 for Brian Reynolds, and then right back he comes back. He misses 2 singles out of the
Right.
game. It's a really difficult process to keep that rolling.
Yeah, you stay in that zone for that game, that big game, and then you look up and see what your score is, and then your mind starts racing and say, okay, I can do that again. And then you maybe, like I talked about before, start pressing, and now you're watching your score more than you were before. So you can't get too high or too low. You got to stay in that middle of the zone there and just concentrate ball to ball. Easier said than done.
All right, so this is a crucial frame for Brandon here. 23 through 3. He's got to get an extra mark this game to make up for that. 6 box, 7 box. So let's see what he can do. Yeah. It seems to me like he's just taking a little bit off the ball. He's not throwing it out as far on the lane or as hard as he has been.
Trying to place the ball, maybe.
He converts there. That's really important for him. We'll go back over now to lanes 5 and 6. Mark Anastasi beginning his 11th game. Chops for 2.
And that's this is the first room he hasn't had anything really to shoot at in quite a while. He had all spare breaks or strikes that last game.
Pretty good effort at that one, but has left himself a split to shoot for on the 3rd ball. Eight box for Mark. I'll head back down to lane 19 in the Jason Veritek jersey. That is John Esposito. Good start to his game here. Right, 2 9-drops, 2 spares out of 3 frames, and chops through the head pin for 2. That's all.
Cruel, cruel sport.
Good effort. Yeah, good 10 there for John Esposito, considering the first ball, of course. Guys, this is the time in the tournament when we usually see, I think, a lot of movement in the leaderboard, people moving down, and people jumping up to overtake them. Why do you guys think that is, that it's around the 9 or 10 mark where we see that group dropping down and then our new group jumping up?
Well, you're seeing the finish line, and it depends on how you react to that. I think whether you go up or down. Those that maybe get a little tight, that start missing breaks or not throwing good balls, versus those who can see the opportunity and seize it.
I agree with Jim. It's I want to say use negative words, but it's not choking. It's so much. It's just you get a little tight. You start to overthink. I think that's what happens, and the guys that move up the board are just letting it go.
Yeah, maybe they haven't been in the position to
Correct.
have to really think too much about their bowling.
Right.
They feel like they're already out of it, so
Less pressure.
they're relaxed. Yeah. Hold the phones here, folks. All right, Colin Dunnick up in the gray here. Started strike, spare. Got a split now, but he'll be in good shape through 5 frames, somewhere in the 92 to 93 range. That's the pace he's going to have to keep up if he's going to want to jump to the top of the leaderboard. But it's Colin Dunnick. He's won the Eastern Classic before. Like we were talking about Jesse Deach on the first shift. It's a big differential, but we wouldn't be surprised if he overcame it. Brandon Dominique there drops 9 for a fill. So that kind of makes up for his errors in the first couple of frames. Now at 42 through 4 with a spare opportunity. Quickly switch down to lane 5. Mark Anastasi also drops 9. Brandon Dominique converts.
That's a big one.
And we'll see what Mark can do here.
That was a big one for Brandon because he misses that. It's back into struggle mode, where now he's got two spares in a row after a rough start.
Mark converts. So he's at 18 plus through 2. Brandon Dominique 52 plus through 5. And John Esposito coming up now. It's hard to see him over there on lane 20. He was off the head pin, dropped 6 for his fill. Nearly converted that difficult split. He'll be shooting for a 10. And converts for 10. All right, guys. If you were going to bet, not that we're betting people, but
I'll bet.
all right, Jim.
All right.
Here's the question. You tell me how much you're going to bet on this. How much would you bet that one of these bowlers actually overtakes Chris Kruger after 12 games?
I would say it's probably, I'm not going to say money-wise, but I'm going to say it's probably...
Let's say sodas.
I'm going to give a percentage.
Sodas. How many sodas would you bet?
I would not bet sodas, any sodas. Because I think from a percentage standpoint, the odds of any one of these bowlers breaking the 150 average is probably 20 to 25%. So I guess you'd have to give me, I would bet 1 soda to your 6 sodas. So if no one broke 1,200, I'd owe you a soda. But if one of the bowlers did break 1,800, you'd owe me 6 sodas.
Yeah, I'm going to go one better, Jim. If you're saying 20 to 25%, I'll take the under.
Okay. All right. So we're talking about
I don't
card sharks here, right?
I don't believe that at this point. I mean, Brandon Dominique needs almost 500.
Well, he's
if
one
I
strike
had to
closer
bet
now
on
after
one
that.
person doing it, I would take Mark Anastasi, only because he's capable of throwing a 360, but it's still a pair of 180 games. I'm taking the under. Let's put it that way.
Well, actually, you kind of bring up a good point. Who would you take? Not what are the odds, but who would you take? So if you take Mark, I'll take Brandon. Maybe his average isn't quite as high, but he bowls here out of Lucky Strike. So I think he has that going for him. Plus, he's bowling well. He's had a rough start this game, but now he's gone spare strike. He had 182 his last game, so maybe he has a little bit more momentum. So you take Mark, and I'll take Brandon.
Yeah. Well, I asked the question, and really, I thought you guys were going to say 0% chance. 'Cause, I mean, we look at it. They've got to make up a bunch of pins in average. Right, so we're talking about 13.
Well, if Brand's
I mean, they
got to
gotta
go
go five-
470,
yeah,
477.
over 500.
Just say 500.
Yeah. So, I don't know. With the eye test right now,
Those are rare.
You know,
I agree with you, Brian.
I don't
I think the percentage is extremely low. But I'm hoping somebody gets hot and gives a shot. It gives a run at it. That would be
absolutely,
exciting.
absolutely.
I'm
mean,
still
I
willing to
think-
take the 6-1 sodas bet. Even though it might be lower than that, I'll take it.
I mean, I think we're all in agreement here, Jim. So maybe we can find somebody in the bowling alley who wants to take that bet. Maybe.
Choose Mike Dominique.
Chris Gano, he'll take it.
Chris Cano and Steve Corrick helping us out today behind the scenes with all the stats and the camera work. We definitely could not do this without them. All right, John Esposito, Jason Veritek jersey, number 33. Dropped 8 on his first ball.
The only problem is
It's the 7-10. Oh. You know, I'm not sure if we've ever caught a 7-10. In all the hours that we've been here at the Eastern Classic and other events, I don't think we've caught any bowler making the 7-10.
On either a spare or 10-box attempt.
I remember way back in the days in the 80s when I used to watch the 10-pin Pro Bowlers tour on TV, they would put up the odds of certain spare conversions, and they had put the 710 at like 2,500 to 1 is what they said the odds were of making it. And I would probably assume it's probably similar for duck pin.
What do you think? Easier or more difficult in duck pin to make the 7-10?
Well, even if it is easier,
10-pin.
then maybe it's 1,500 to 1 instead of 2,500 to 1.
Yeah,
It's
I think it's easier.
super
but
tough.
Not easy.
Well, it's been more than 30 years since I've made it.
Ever make it, Pat?
I made the 7, 8, 9, 10. Does that count? For a
Out.
spare. For a spare.
I'm not going to ask about your first ball.
No, the
today.
first ball was really cool.
I have seen that made once as well.
And
All right.
the ironic thing about that make was that only one pin fell off the lane. The 10 pin was the only pin that left the lane. The 7, 8, 9 laid down right on it.
Oh,
Almost a
Brandon
double for
Dominique.
Yep, almost.
Ooh, close. Let's take another look at that one.
Always one to put body English in.
He's got to get that. You know, I watch some replay. I watch some. Every time we release a video, I watch it. That Mike Dominique leap is epic, and Brandon has not yet come close. That was shades of it, but wasn't quite there.
He's definitely got the same energy as his father, but not quite the hops. Mark Anastasi here.
Yet
Close,
another 9.
Close. Yeah. What would really make a difference for either of these bowlers in potentially getting to the top here is a double, right? Doubles are so big in this tournament. You can drop 9 and make the spare all you want, but you catch a double, that's a fire. That's like you play Mario Kart. That's like the little thing that gets you moving there, moving a little faster. All right, but you got to make your spares too. And Mark Anastasi, that's how many?
4 in
the
the
past
last game
10
and a half.
frames that he's missed.
Yeah.
It's 3 too many. Honestly, it's tough.
And I think every single time
Frustration.
he's made it for a 10.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, that tells me again it's all mental on the second ball. He's rushing a little bit. He's doing something because he's pressing. He's relaxing on the third ball, and he's making it every time. All right, John Esposito, lane 20, far right of your screen. Chopped through the head pin for 5. Sorry, 4. Again, valiant effort, but does not convert. So he's in also a tough spot right now. He's going to be around 80, maybe 81. Make it 79, actually, through 7. So if he doesn't do something quick, he's fallen down the leaderboard pretty considerably. At this point, I would bet that Colin Dunnick might move ahead of him after this 10th game.
And I don't believe the Shaw score has been updated. Although
Tom Shaw's through 9 games. He's on
they're
his 10th
down.
game.
They're down on 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yep. Out of picture, but Tom Shaw was off to a rough start today. After
Super first block.
Yeah, really tremendous. 9:02 first 6, started 119, 115, 112. So whatever mojo he had yesterday does not have today.
Who knew?
Hard,
Yeah.
Hard enough to average 150 for, people who average 140s, 145. He's a C division bowler. He's still leading the C division average from an average standpoint, but
And the B division, actually.
yeah, he's leading them both.
I would bet if he can maintain some kind of like 140 average, he's going to win the B division.
Yes.
And I believe that was a strike for Anastasia.
Yeah, and we saw Brandon convert a single there for a spare. Take another quick look at Mark's ball.
So I tell you, Jim, that's another backside pocket. That seems to be the favorable area today on many lanes.
Yeah, as long as you're heavy enough and you don't have too much sideways spin on your ball, I think either side of the pocket you're fine.
All right, again, a little lull in the action. All our bowlers, top bowlers, seem to be bowling at the same time. So remember, we got big screen TV format for you at the Eastern Classic this year. You can watch the bowlers you're tracking, every ball on one of our 3 camera angles on the bottom. On the top, we've got what we'll be commenting on our big screen. Frame-by-frame scores to the left, leaderboard to the right. This is your go-to for duckpin bowling.
And we're following Colin Dunnick there earlier. He'd started with double spare, but he's opened his last 4 frames. He has 122 after 8. So after a promising start, it's kind of cooled off. Mike Nicholson on the right-hand side of your screen with the Boston Red Sox T-shirt, and Sal Nassisi in the center. And had flashes of the 7-9, but breaks them both for a strike. Sal's struggling this game. He only had 68 after 7, so that strike's going to help him get to 100, hopefully, or more.
Yeah. You saw Colin Dunnick there getting a little coaching from his personal coach. That's Owen, his son.
His advice is pretty much just throw a strike, Dad.
Pretty good advice.
Good advice.
Mark Anastasi now. A little heavy. That guys, that's the fine line you're walking here, right?
Yep.
A little heavy, you're gonna get a strike, but just a little too heavy, and you're left with those 2 pins like that. We've seen it over and over again today. As you saw on your bottom right, Colin Dunnick converted. Mark Anastasi here. Ooh, just converts off the wall. That was.
These walls here.
Brandon Dominique coming across. Almost catches it. Take another look. It looks to me like he's back to throwing it with a little bit more conviction. The past couple of balls. Nope. We missed it because our replay was going, but threw it in the gutter, popped out. So they'll have to set that one back up again. John Esposito, Jason Veritek jersey to your right. Off the head pin again. He's in struggle city right now. looking to avoid a 6 box here. Does. It's 8. Puts him at 87 through 8 frames.
That's 5 opens in a row for him.
Yeah.
After spares 2 of his first 3 frames. So,
After 9 games, not the way we thought things were going to go. He's looking pretty good. Brandon Dominique shooting for a 10 after it popped out of the gutter, and he converts.
So bad news, he missed a single. Good news, he can put 20 in the 10th for 149, be right on that 150 pace.
Yep. If you're shooting for 500, the minimum score is probably 150.
Yes, for your low game. Yep.
All right.
That's a way to get to 100, right? You said
Down to
maybe you
60.
get to 100.
He just soared over 100. He's in 120ville right now.
Yeah,
He might
that's
double
Sissy.
his score in the last 3 frames from what he had his first 7.
All right, Mark Anastasi here. Big ball, real big ball here. On a spare in the 6th. Not quite on pace yet this game.
Ouch.
Oh,
Just didn't get away with the backside pocket on that ball.
he's going to shoot at it right away here. Doesn't even step off the lane. All right. He'll be at 89 or 90 through 7.
So Anastasi is in a similar position to Dominique right now. He needs something to happen quick in the end of this game, and then need 2 monster games going out.
Yeah, we'll take another look at his first ball here. Left the 5-7.
Actually, that was the 1-2. That was
Yeah,
the
looked
one.
like a pretty good ball.
Yeah, it was a good ball. Wasn't
Not-
even backside. It was
Not
1-2
heavy enough
pocket.
to carry the 5, though. All right, back down here. Brandon Dominique. John Esposito to the far right, number 33. Colin Dunnick in the gray. Actually, both the Collins sons are down there right now watching him bowl. I guess the big question, long-term bet here, but Brandon Dominique, 9 drop, a little unconventional there. Is that the head pin or the 2 pin?
It's a 3 pin.
3 pin.
Yeah, he hit heavy. He was lucky to get just a single pin to shoot at here.
Yeah. John Esposito on the far right drops 9. So he needs to convert this spare here more than anyone. Brandon converts. What I was going to ask you guys is, are Colin's sons going to be better bowlers than he is? I've seen them bowl a little bit already. And, I mean,
That's asking. That's a big ask.
15, 20 years from now, I mean,
Colin
talking about
has one
another
of the-
Dunnick as an Eastern Classic winner.
Colin has one of the smoothest deliveries of any bowler.
Brandon Dominique in there, drops 6. So he finishes with 145.
Average goes down. Doesn't that stink? It's so hard. This is so hard.
But-
Yeah, not a bad game by any means. 145 is a good score in duckpin bowling.
It's a great score.
He worked hard, though, after the 23 for his first 3 frames.
an
He only
excellent
had
finish.
1
Jack,
open
he-
the rest of the way. And that was missing a single. So he did work hard to get back up to 145.
So end of the story, though, is that Brandon Dominique is still playing here.
Three, 334, 343 gets him to the lead at top of the leaderboard. It's a couple of 170 games.
Very
Certainly
doable.
within his range.
We just, if I'm coaching him, I'm going to say, throw that ball with some conviction. Throw it out there. Throw it hard. Don't short arm it. Don't baby it, because that's what's gotten you in trouble today.
Anastasi in the 8th. Right up the middle for 5.
Tight.
Again, we're seeing the same trend as we saw earlier in the first shift. As the games get deeper. We get deeper into the games. The hits get a little tighter, and the spare leaves get a little tougher, and the averages tend to settle down toward that 150 bar.
Everything becomes magnified. Every single ball becomes more and more important.
So if he gets these two, he'll be at 100 through 8. Gonna have to put 2 marks on this, absolutely, if he's gonna stay with a hope of catching Chris Kruger, or at least coming close. All right. So things are well poised at the moment for Brandon Dominique. Things could go either way for him here. Mark Anastasi, John Esposito, both trending downwards. Really need to turn things around in the next couple of frames, or else their day won't be over, but their hopes at first place will be.
Sal Nassisi almost backed his way into a triple there, but gets a 9 drop. So if he makes this, he'll have a shot to double his first 7 frame score in just the last 3. Oh, could he still do that though? No, he's going to be in the 120s. $128 for Sal Nassisi. Oh, I'm sorry, 126. 126 for Sal.
I have to go use this.
All right, John Esposito, our next top bowler up here. Number 33 to the right of your screen. On a spare. Quite frankly, needs a good fill. And another mark. Off the head pin again. He's been off the head pin very, very often in this game. Still gets an 8 fill. Makeable spare.
The baby split, 1-6. Just wants to throw his first ball here and let the ball carry over into the 6. Oh, tried plan B and hit it on the outside, but a little too light. So he'll be in the 1-teens.
Yep.
115.
Mark Anastasi now. Center of your screen. That's a strike.
I heard it from all the way over here.
We'll take another look at that one. Alternate angle.
All right, with that strike,
He had tight enough to carry that ball through to get the 5. Had enough side-to-side action to get the 7 to go.
that opens the
ball.
opportunity for him to get in the 140s, 150s, maybe max out at 160. Strikes become more and more important as you get closer and closer to the end of this tournament. Can you throw strikes? Can you string strikes? Because if you throw a strike, you can't miss it for a spare. It takes a lot of that pressure off. You don't have to.
Sure.
You don't miss any breaks if you're throwing strikes. That's Bruce Gordonier that just walked off the lane third in the white shirt, and then to his left is Tom Clausen in the blue shirt.
Speaking of Tom Clausen, he had a pretty good start to the day. 172, 139, 134 for 445. Little lull in the action here. think we're waiting for a reset on lanes 19 and 20. That's held up our groups with Brandon Dominique and John Esposito.
All right, but we're going to see the 10th frame here of Mark Anastasi in a minute. Big ball for him as he's working on a strike in the 9th. He has 110 plus in the 9th. Averaging just a shade under 146 so far for the tournament, so you would need another strike to maintain that average. And more than one strike to get that average closer to the magical 150 threshold. So far, Chris Kruger is the only bowler this first weekend who's cracked the 150 average for 12 games. He sits atop of the standings at 1808. Boom. Big double for Mark Anastasi. And it couldn't come at a better time. He was struggling. He only had 100 through 8. And now 2 no-doubt strikes in the 9th and 10th. He's got room for 2 more. He would max out at 160.
And probably puts him in second place. Gives him 16, 17. Still needing a monster game going out to eclipse Kruger, but wait a minute.
Not enough on it. But still, right, that saves this game. Saves the game.
High 140s.
All right, converts there. 148 for Mark Anastasi. So kind of in the same boat as Brandon Dominique. They're within, 8 pins, or were within 8 pins of each other through 10 games.
But now with 2 games left, you know exactly what you need for 1800. They both need.
Mark needs 195 for 1800.
Right now that his score has been updated, he'll need a big game to get there. Brandon needs.
Mark needs a
Brandon is
204
almost
to take the
Brandon
lead.
is a full game behind, as is John Esposito.
Oh, almost got that 10 pin to kick.
We'll reset their scores. Ouch. Kept the ball in the lane, but missed it to the right. And that 10 pin's been his bugaboo. It seems like that's the one he's been missing the most.
But again, he missed to the right. And
Right.
tells us he's kind of slowing up a little bit, not throwing the ball out on the second ball. So we saw John Esposito, 115. Knocked him down to 7th place, still averaging 140.4. But, he has 2 games left. He's going to need 2 200s, or a 200 and a 196 if you want to get technical, to hit that 1800 mark. So I think our focus will stay on Mark Anastasi, Brandon Dominique, the two with a pretty decent chance of catching Chris Kruger, or the best chance, nonetheless. That's Tom Shaw there in the green shirts. Again, we said he started with a 904, his first block of 6 games. 119, 115, 112, rough start. Came back with a 151 in game 10. So he's got a chance to average 140 for the tournament. Maybe move himself up a couple of spots with 2 good games. But again, the focus now is on Brandon Dominique, Mark Anastasi.
Nice try by Tommy. And, we talked about him leading the B division. And, right now he's just a shade under 140 average. And historically, you need to be in the 140s, the low 140s, to win the B division. So he's going to need to raise the second block average if he's going to contend for the B title, because again we have a second weekend of bowlers. A larger group of bowlers will be bowling next weekend to contend for both the Open as well as the B and C divisions. The senior division we haven't spoken about, but there's a lot up for grabs, a lot of bragging rights. And here's Mark starting his last game with a rip for 3.
Tough start for Anastasi on that one.
Oh, almost. But leaves just the 2-pin.
It's fine. Yeah, 9 start for Mark Anastasi in his 12th and final game. Remember, he's a whole game ahead of Brandon Dominique, just by virtue of being out in front. Brandon Dominique's group is in the back.
Yeah, usually when you line up your bowlers, your pairs of bowlers for the tournament, those that start on the farthest right-hand pair, as soon as they finish their game, they can go to the next pair and immediately bowl their next game because there's no one bowling there. Whereas all of the other pairs of bowlers to the left, they have to wait for the pair to the right to finish. So you typically see those bowlers take longer and longer to finish their shifts. And Brandon has the 10-pin again, staring at him.
Talk about a mental game here, right? You just missed it. Another shot.
No
Threw
doubt.
that one out that time.
Yes, exactly.
Threw it out. You definitely, could probably watch him from the reverse angle, have no view of the pins, and make a pretty educated guess every time on what type of ball he's thrown, whether he's going to hit his object pin or not, based just on that follow through and where that ball lands.
It definitely wants to get his ball out a little bit on the lane. A little bit of lift. Sal Nassisi again here in 20. Looking at the 4 horsemen to the right. Chops the lead horseman only. Frustrating. Manages to get 9. The second here, here he is, Mark Anastasi for second frame. Where again, he needs a 195 to get to 1800. He's going to need a 200 game to bypass Chris Kruger. So can't take any more frames off and need strikes. Heavy, but leaves just a single pin. Get a replay of that ball. Yeah, heavy almost left a split, breaks it up, leaves just the 3-pin. Back to live action. You got it.
Anastasi's had a tremendous number of 9 drops and has made a good percentage of them, but got in trouble the last game by missing 2 or 3 of them. And
Brandon Dominique there, 5 fill. Yeah, that's a tough spare to make.
Hey, usually you would leave the 5 pin, but this time he left the 10.
It's a tough one there. I'll take another look at his first ball here, see if we can pick up on anything.
He got it out, but left of the target. Tom Clausen on your screen in the blue. Looks like he has a spare leave. Covers it up, textbook. So looks like he started his game with 2 spares in a row.
Again, it seems like every time our top bowlers are up, they're up at the exact same time. So that's why we've switched over to this big screen TV view for you. Picture in picture, you got our 3 main camera angles at the bottom, our commentary feed at the top bowler scores to the left, leaderboard to the right. We hope you like it, this setup this year.
Can you hook up my TV for football season like this?
Well, I mean, if we got you 4 or 5 TVs, I think that would be the ideal scenario. But
This is like the Red Zone channel for football. But you're able to see 3 shots at once. Sometimes they give you the quad box on the Red Zone where you can watch 4 games at a time. But here's Mark again. Unfortunate.
Tough break.
So will we see the 710 converted on Duckpin TV?
Talked about it. I mean, maybe we can talk him into it.
Would be a great time for Mark to do it because, again, he can't really afford any open frames if he's going to get to 1,800 and or bypass Chris Kruger for the first weekend lead.
Whip on down to lane 19, Brandon Dominique. Pretty heavy, 9 drop. Converts. Anastasi still shooting at the 710, but this time on his 3rd ball.
2 field goals.
Yeah, folks.
Not the game he wanted here.
No. If you think you have whiplash right now, going from lane to lane, bowler to bowler, just wait until we get to shift 5. That is the last round of the tournament. Typically, the top bowlers bowl on that shift. Former Eastern Classic champions, I think we'll be seeing this year. Billy Thomas from 2020. John D'Antonis from 2018. Oh, I'm sorry. Billy Thomas was 2019. We're in 2020 right now.
Little Nostradamus here, predicting 2-time
Billy, we
winner
gave you
here.
back-to-back wins.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind that.
Will Rigney, 2016 champion. Ron Pelletier, 2015, 2012. He had 2 others, 2005 and 2003.
Yep. Be
Uh,
a lot of heavy hitters on our last episode of coverage of this tournament. That's shift 5. So
oh no, I'm sorry. Ron Pelletier, 2005, 2012, 2013, and 2015. Right, he was the one who won 3 of 4.
3 out of 4 years.
tournaments. Really unbelievable. Really unbelievable.
He
There's-
loves to bowl here. He loves to come here. He enjoys his time here. And heck, 4 wins is good reason.
He's one of only a couple of bowlers, as we see Brandon Dominique go for a strike there. Great fill for him. He's in good shape. Good shape. Not great shape, but good shape through 5 frames.
still needs to step it up even after marking 3 out of his first 5 frames. I'm sure he would like to throw a couple more strikes after that one. That's
Now,
basically what he needs.
Mark Anastasi chopped. Went from a chop to almost a strike.
Shot for 6, and then it was 9.
Yeah, he was looking at an odd leave there for a second, and then a couple of pins caved in and leaves just, I think, the 9 pin. Or maybe it's the 3 pin. I think it's the 3.
Yeah, it's a 3.
He got it.
45 through 4. So Brandon, we would say, is in better shape than Mark, but Brandon also has a game and a half left. Mark, just 5 frames. Sorry, 6 frames.
Yeah, he needs to find that strike ball. Mark needs to find his strike ball in a hurry. Spares are nice, but spares aren't going to be enough at this point. The person folding his towel in the foreground here is Mike Caplet Sr. He's currently in 4th place in the B division. He bowls here at Lucky Strike Lanes. Showing you how to properly fold a towel. And Brandon is ready and raring to go to fill his strike here in the 6th of his game 11. The 2 bowlers we're concentrating on are Brandon Dominique and Mark Anastasi. Mark Anastasi's in his 12th game. Brandon is in his 11th. Working on a strike.
Oh,
Spinning
man.
wood, but can't get over to the 10 pin.
That's been a trend. He's left the 10 pin quite a few times recently.
And he's got a little bit of a crowd of family and friends cheering him on. His father, his uncle, and his aunt.
Can you get Steve? Get Steve, please. Huh?
And he covers the 10 pin again. Hopefully he's figured out what he needs to do to get that ball over to the 10 pin. So 3 marks in a row for Brandon. Spare, strike, spare. 84 plus in the 6th. And also a little side note, to the left of Mark Anastasi, that's his dad. So he's bowling with his dad this weekend. Made the trip from Maryland.
Dad or uncle?
Good question. I always thought it was his dad. Maybe it's
Oh,
his uncle.
goodness.
I don't know. Is it?
This one.
Another 9 drop for Anastasi.
And then the
Speaking of uncles, missing Uncle Steve Ivarone,
It's this one.
and he covers
Anastasi
up,
all over
Mark
the 10
covers up
pin.
his spare.
Covers that up for spare.
This one. 5
But he is in desperate need of multiple strikes right now to take over the lead of Chris Kruger. He's in a position where he has to almost strike out.
Yeah. This almost reminds me, a couple years ago we had a situation where one of our colleagues, Eric Lateska, mistakenly described Steve Ivarone, right, the really fantastic Hall of Fame bowler, Steve Ivarone, as Will Rigney's uncle, when in fact there is no connection.
No blood
At all.
relation at all.
Yeah.
But we still investigated it. We put on our investigative hat spoke extensively with both Steve and Will.
Yeah.
Both of them verified not blood relatives, but more bowling relatives in the lanes, in the house, in the centers, their family.
If I remember correctly, Will was a little, say, not forthcoming at first.
Well, I think Will kind of probably wants to be, Steve's nephew, but Steve kind of kicked him to the curb and flatly denied his lineage.
Oh,
Ouch.
Brandon Dominique chopped through there. He knew, I think, as soon as he let it go.
Yeah, it's a helpless feeling when you know that ball's heading towards the dead middle and you hope it might change course at some point, but it didn't, and just a four-load on that spare.
Quickly over to Anastasi, to the right of the head pin. I think that's 5.
Yeah, I think he kicked out the 2-pin there.
After Brandon.
And he covers it, though, and he covered it on the outside. His ball, it was on the right side of the head pin. The head pin took out both the 4 and the 8. The ball went over to get the 6 and the 10. Tough cover.
Yeah, we got a score correction there. It was 4 for
It was 4?
Anastasi on the
Okay.
fill. Yep.
All right.
So that'll put him at 78 through 6.
We're in an unusual position to have Anastasi so far out in front, but he is at a point now where in order to take over the first weekend lead, he needs his next 5 balls have to be strikes. He has to strike in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th twice, and then load it.
So still mathematically has a shot, but barely.
The highest he can go right now is 208.
You can go 198.
No, I think he can go 208, Jim.
You know, he gets to, if he can get himself to 1750, though, that's a top 10 finish.
Right.
What would be a top 10 finish if you look at last year's final score. So you know, he's still playing for a lot here. Top 10 finish at the Eastern Classic is a
Big deal.
very good accomplishment.
Absolutely.
It's a real big deal.
You know, we haven't talked a lot about this being the 90th Eastern Classic, but it is. Throughout the history of this tournament, the best bowlers have won. This is not like the Pro Tour, where you can just kind of get in to the next round through qualifying and then get lucky winning a match or two when it's head-to-head, and then maybe catch a break when you're in the playoffs by getting an opponent who's a little weaker. You got to bowl 12 good games. You can't take a frame off. You don't get lucky. And that's that.
Right. Scores don't reset after day one. You need to have the highest score of all of the bowlers. It's the classic open format. This may be the only tournament left like this.
Definitely the only high-profile open tournament left that draws bowlers from all over duckpin country and Canada. Brandon Dominique dropped 8. Really needs the spare. Converts over to Anastasi. It's got one spin in there. Looks like it'll be 7 though. So
It might
he
be
is
6.
mathematically 6 or
He's-
7.
7 doesn't matter.
He is not
as far
going to
as-
win the tournament. at this point.
Mathematically out. But again, if we'll put a number up there for him, let's say 1750. If he can get to 1750, he's got a good shot at a top 10 finish.
So he is still not quite to 1750 pace. It's plus 22. Right now he's got 3 boxes to go. He's at 1727. He needs
He needs 3
to
marks.
He needs to mark out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not as daunting as needing to strike out starting in the 7th frame, but
What do you think his mindset is, though? Now if he's keeping track, he knows he can't catch Chris Kruger. So what does he think about? Does he think about that, or what?
I
is
think
he just upset and just kind of packing it in?
yeah. For judging by his body language, it looks like he's kind of just packing it in at this point. He looked really disappointed and kind of slumping over as he came off the lane. But there's still a lot to play for.
We'll see.
So.
Let's see what he looks like. Let's see what the next frame holds for him here. Maybe he'll catch himself. And Brandon's taking the lanes here on 20. .26 up on his frame with a spare. Got 2 frames left in this game.
I think one of these times he's going to knock himself over on the not throwing the ball, but
Knock
throwing
himself
the
out.
fist,
Yeah.
the fist pump after he throws the ball.
Well, he's got the 8 pin to shoot at here.
Oh, again, kind of short-armed it, didn't throw it out, didn't land it far enough out on the lane. He'll settle for 10.
All of
Ouch.
those things you just said are how to miss a 1-pinner.
Yeah.
And Mark Anastasi, who we talked about needing to mark out to get to 1750, just threw a pretty good ball, but has the 4, 7, 10.
Could write a book on that, Pat. It'd be pretty short, too.
Short book.
All right.
Ways to miss a 1-pinner. Rush the line. Lay the ball down. What else can you do wrong?
Both your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Really, I would sum it up as this. You stop doing what you do on your first ball,
That's it.
right?
That's the first thing. Brandon throws a very, very aggressive first ball, and he throws a somewhat tentative 1-pin ball.
Yeah, if he could consistently throw that second ball with more conviction, more aggressiveness, we would have seen him today just on this show make 5, 6, 7 more single pins than he has.
Easily.
So add 50 pins to Brandon's score. He's at a little over 1,500 with 2 games to go. That's easy. 2 150s to get to 1,800.
It's a little easier. He's in a position
Mike
now
Nicholson
where
with a nice strike.
his average is gonna drop. Even with a 20 fill in the 10th, he's still gonna go in the wrong direction. He's gonna be going less than 146.6. Chuck Paris is gaining. He's done. He has his games in the book. 1726 could end up being second place after the first weekend.
Yeah. That place that Chuck Paris is, 1726, is about where I would expect our leaderboard, the 12th spot, to be at the end of next weekend.
Correct. I agree. Right around 144, 145. In that general range.
Colin Dunnick there in the gray putting together a really good game. That's 163 plus a spare fill here in the 10th frame. So
That'll bump him up a couple spots on the leaderboard. Could move him up 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, a strike there. So that's 173 for Colin Dunnick. We could talk for a moment about your groupings. Brandon gets to bowl with Colin. Even though Colin isn't bowling tremendously well today, he's still had flashes where he's bowling pretty well. Does that keep Brandon a little more focused, a little more in the game? Perhaps. That's a tough shot there for Brandon. Tough shot.
All right, give it a ride.
Again,
Valiant effort.
again, though, even on that ball, right, he's not shooting a single, but he still took a lot off of it, a lot of speed and a lot of power.
Yep.
Mark Anastasi picked up a spare there. Back to Brandon.
And an 8-box. So 133 is going to probably drop him down into the 144 range, 144 point something.
So again, we see a situation where bowler bowling well needs a big game, and then 9th and 10th frames falls off the pace, missed that big single in the 9th, and then ripped the middle in the 10th for Brandon.
Yeah, it's single miss and then a rip. Puts him in a similar position to Anastasi. Actually, it's in a worse position than Anastasi was in. He's at 1599, so he's in search of a 210 game
to go past Chris.
Correct.
Right. So as we're waiting Brandon to bowl start his last game, his 12th of the tournament. There's Mike Nicholson with another strike on camera.
Yeah, I just went down there, guys, and I took a look at John Esposito's score. We haven't been tracking him because he fell off the pace a little bit, but he has a strike in the 8th, 91 plus. 91 plus. Just missed Mark Anastasi's first ball, 9. You could have seen it, right? We have our 3 screens at the bottom, so you can follow a bowler and never miss a ball. There he goes there, picks it up. So he's at 120 through... No, this is his 10th frame. I'm sorry.
130 with a ball to go. So he can get close to 17.
He's going to get over. He's going to get past the 1726. So puts himself in position to be in second or maybe third place going into second weekend. Big 9 drop, another 9 drop, I should say. All day he had 9 drops.
Yeah, imagine if half of those 9 drops were strikes.
Man, he's saying the same thing, I'm sure.
So that brings him to 1744. Good for third place at the moment on the leaderboard. But again, 1744, he almost got to 1750, that mark we had set for him. If this were the 2019 Eastern Classic, that would be good for 8th place. Saw John Esposito. I believe that was a 10 for him. So that brings him to 109 in the 9th frame. So he's fallen off the pace even more than when we last left him.
Yeah, Colin Dunnick has overtaken him. And that lead will be expanded after we put in John's 11th game.
Let's see, Tom Shaw with another nice game, puts himself back into that low 140 average range, which is the benchmark, we think, for the B division. If he can finish strong here, it's going to set up a nice target for the B bowlers coming in next weekend.
And unlucky for Brandon, left the 3, 6, 10 and chops off the 3-pin on the second ball. And nothing on the
Brandon's
last
a little
ball.
frustrated right now.
So a rough first frame for Brandon. His body language tells you he's a little frustrated. But he still has 9 frames. Got to catch himself mentally and just focus on that next ball.
Yeah, you talk about Tom Shaw, to go back to him. The winning B score for 2019 was 1711. So
150 would go put him past it.
So maybe we should keep a closer eye on him down there.
I think we might work a camera angle to get on Tom Shaw to follow his quest to the top of the B division, or to maintain his spot at the top of the B division. Yeah, that's what we're doing. As you can see in the lower left-hand camera there, it's being adjusted so we can follow Tom. It's Mark Parker, lower left-hand camera there on lane 3.
What we need right now is for either Colin or Brandon to get locked in and start throwing some strikes so we can get a little excitement. It's not a lot of activity going on right now. A lot of bowlers who are feeling the wrath of Lucky Strike lanes today.
So we are going to follow Tom Shaw, since he does have a legitimate shot at winning the B division. Right, we'll have to wait until the end of next weekend, but nonetheless, we'll track his last game here. They're just beginning it, so we'll see his first frame in a moment. But first, Brandon Dominique on lane 20, the Bruins jersey. Good ball, leaves the 5.
The lanes are living up to their name today. You got to get lucky, but the strikes are not coming fast and furious for sure.
Lots of 9 drops.
Unfortunately, a lot of those, unfortunately.
That was an odd miss for him, right? Because he actually pulled it to the left. Almost all of his misses so far we've seen have been to the right.
Tom Shaw with his first ball, all down. Good start for Tom.
Yeah, we kind of missed that, so we'll take another look.
With no left arm movement at all. Left arm's like kind of like a balancing body.
Colin Dunnick, spare to start his 12th game. He'll need a real big game to get past Mark Anastasi into 3rd.
But, I mean, he's got a legitimate shot at getting past Chuck Paris.
Oh,
I
sure.
think.
And getting into the top 10 for the, overall, kind of projecting ahead to the end of the second weekend. That, really big last game could put him into the top 10. What was 10th last year?
1741.
Okay.
So, we think Mark just got there. Top 20 for Colin is probably pretty likely at this point, but top 15 is probably what he's working towards. If we get to the 8th or 9th frame and he's had 7 marks, then maybe we're talking about top 10.
Right. Yeah, I think he has still a shot of making the money. However many percent, the top, however many percent get a cash prize. So he's still in contention for the to cash the main prize list.
Oh yeah, typically the top 30 are in that main prize list. Obviously, the better you bowl, the larger the prize. But we'll keep an eye on Colin, see if he does anything interesting here. That was interesting, but for the wrong reasons.
Could have been a 2 fill, but he gets a 6, and he has a makeable washout 1, 2, 4, 10 leave. And we're waiting for a reset here on 19 for Brandon. Give him an extra second or two to kind of catch himself after a rough start.
Oh, good effort by Colin, but does not convert. So he's still got a lot of work to do here. He'll be in the 40s, specifically 44, through 3 frames. Brandon's ready to go. You can watch Tom Shaw in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. He's on a strike, but we'll stick with Brandon.
Yeah, he
Who
got that
throws
ball
a
out.
strike.
Got that ball out there.
So we will catch Tom Shaw's
It's a
ball
double.
here, and that's
It's
a strike.
It's a double. Good start to the last game of the tournament for Tom Shaw.
All right. Let's start with a replay of Shaw. That's a double.
Brings the arm way out, comes around the ball, and gets the 5-pin to trip. Might be the first time we've seen someone start the game with a double on camera.
Yeah.
That we've been tracking.
And now we'll take a look at Brandon's strike.
Replay of his 3rd frame. Gets that ball out. No doubt.
Seems like he's less animated when he knows it's good.
I think he's animated it. I don't know about that. He seems to be always animated.
I mean, it didn't give the big fist throw there. It
Well-
was just like, I got this one.
Well, I think he's realized the situation at this point, that he's at 1599. He's going to need over 200 to catch Chris Kruger. Started with 2 opens, so the chances of that happening are less likely. I think that's taken a little bit of air out of him here.
And by starting with a double, Tom Shaw has kept himself in contention to take the lead. He only needs a 240.
Yeah, that's it. You know, he's like, what, a quarter of the way there?
Yeah, he's got, hey, 2's better than none.
Brandon Dominique up again pretty quickly. 7 for him. Difficult split for sure. You got to be very precise to make this. He's got the 7-pin in the corner also, if you can't see it.
Oh, wow.
Good try.
Carried the 1-6, but 7 is still hiding in the corner. Covers it up for 10, but 47 after 4. Here's Colin. Another spare leave for Colin after tripping up the 4-pin there.
Tom Shaw is going to attempt to load a double here and keep this string going. And that would be up the middle for 6.
Soul crushing on a double. A ripper split or off the side for 2. Those are tough. Gives it a
Great
good ride.
attempt at the spare, 9 drop, so 16 and 9 for the loads. Plus 25 with the ball to go. Great start, though. Puts him in position to can maintain that 142 average or perhaps bump it up a notch.
You know, you kind of said, I don't know how seriously, but he only needs 240.
Yeah, only.
All right. I wonder, you know, we look back at the Eastern Classic scores from previous years. We haven't had many 200s to speak of.
Oh,
Do you know who has the highest game ever in the Eastern?
I bet you do, Jim.
I think
I do. I hope I do.
Oh. Is it oh no, I'm thinking of the first ever winner
Is
of
it
the Eastern
Dennis
Classic.
No.
Dennis Cabral?
Give us a year.
1981.
Wow.
81.
Was it Robert Dunnick?
Was not a Dunnick.
No, Robert Dunnick's the first B bowler to win the Eastern Classic.
We have followed this bowler in years past.
Was it John D'Antonis?
Was not. No, John D'Antonis was probably 9 or 10 years old then.
It would have been a great
not John
accomplishment.
D'Antonis.
It would have been really good. 1971.
Well, I mean,
1981.
1981.
to go back to that though, I mean, we look at next weekend. We'll see John D'Antonis and his son
Colby.
Right.
bowl together. Colby's not that
Colby,
old.
I'm sorry. Colby, he's 17 years old, I think, and a hell of a bowler already at age 17.
1981.
I believe. 1981. Who is it?
Is it Steve Ivorone?
Not Steve Ivorone. It's not. I don't know if this person's never won the Eastern.
Well, Steve hasn't.
Well, neither is this person. Colin with a spare.
1981.
You want to?
Give us. Is
How
there
about
another hint? Like
initials
a
or
state? How about a state?
It's either Rhode Island or Massachusetts. I'm not sure.
Is it
Pretty
is
sure
it
Rhode
DePaul?
Island.
Palma.
Is it Peter Pierce?
Not Pierce, not De Palma.
Wow.
Oh.
All right,
We're
we
busy
give-
guessing.
we're guessing
Hold on,
now.
I'm not done guessing, Pat, but we do have
Okay.
to pay attention to Brandon here. Dropped 4 on the first ball. Chopped through the head pin. Oh,
He missed on his second
Oh,
ball.
yeah.
Went by it, and then
that was a 6.
right 6 box. So barely over his box, 53 through 5.
All right. So his Eastern Classic is, I don't want to say over, but
Well, he can strike out for 203.
which would still not be enough.
Not be enough to catch Chris Kruger. So Chris Kruger is going to be your first weekend leader. At 1808.
well, hold on. We
Unless
had
Tom Shaw
Shaw, who could
strikes
still.
Is he still? Let's see. If he does
210. He could go
210 plus
264.
264. Yeah, he's still got it.
He's in it.
He's still playing. He's got the lucky green shirt
So,
on.
without saying the name, Jim, what was the highest ball score ever rolled in the Eastern Classic?
Was it 243?
It is 241.
241.
Wow.
As we see Tom Shaw chop it through there for 8. And coming closer and closer to a mathematical elimination from taking the lead.
Did Swede Lavers ever win the Eastern Classic?
Oh, I'm sure he has. He won in 1983.
Oh.
And 1987.
Well, there you go. So
He's a
it wasn't
two-time
him.
winner. He's also from Connecticut. So
Right.
that
This is also a bad guess.
Rhode Island, Massachusetts, 1981, 241. You know, there's a
We've-
couple people at home right now who
Pretty
are
sure
like,
we've even interviewed him.
Wow. Oh, was it? Oh no, that's not Will's uncle.
And I believe I believe we interviewed him due to the number of years in a row that he had bowled the Eastern.
yes, I know exactly who this is now. His name is on the tip of my tongue as we watch.
It's my dad's name. If you don't know my dad, but it's my dad's name.
We've seen him on some of our Duckpin Classics. I
Yes,
think,
we have.
In fact,
Yes,
Lou
we have.
Sarkisian.
There you go.
Oh, Lou.
All right.
Sweet Lou Sarkisian.
Lou Sarkisian threw a 241.
241 in 1981.
No, my goodness. I bowled with him up until about 2 years ago. Lou and my bowling partner on league nights, Scott Charlwood, and I bowled in the Thursday night sweepstakes at Town Hall Lanes. And Lou would always join us for 3 games, and he's taken some time off. He's getting up there, and his health is not allowed him to bowl often anymore. But Lou's a great guy.
Yeah, very nice guy. And I don't know how
I
many
think
years in a
he
row?
holds the record for most consecutive Eastern Classics bowled.
And apparently he also has the highest game ever rolled in the Eastern Classic, which is awesome.
Yeah. Usually see him down here at some point.
Maybe we'll
Um,
see him next weekend.
Yeah, maybe. But he's certainly part of the history here at the Eastern Classic.
Sweet Lou. Good Lord.
What was that wasn't 20 questions, but
It was a lot.
Tom Shaw here now. Ooh.
And there's a middle rip. And now he is almost mathematically eliminated. Not. Wait, is he? Let's see. 238 plus 9. 247.
Well, now he can only get 200 on the nose.
Out. He's out.
He's
203 if he covers this for 10.
So
That's it. We have our first weekend leader
Chris Kruger.
etched in stone. And your 0% guess was fairly accurate.
Sal Nassisi is having a pretty good game here, bowling with Colin and Brandon.
.106 plus through 6 frames.
That's right.
All right.
Brandon's now in a position to he's got to settle the boat here, get himself some sort of a decent finish, keep himself somewhere near the top of the leaderboard. At this point, he's looking to fall many spots if he doesn't pick up the pace.
I think worst case scenario, he falls to 6th. A couple of marks, he can keep himself up in the at least 3 to 4 range. Maybe keep his 2 position if he marks out here.
10 pin
Here's
again. He's
his
left
recent
his 10
nemesis
pin
here.
so many times today.
Need to cover this. No doubt about it. Sal Nassisi is 5 marks in a row, including a double in there. Not working on a spare right now. Ouch. Sorry, Sal. My bad. And he covers it up, though, so he's got 6 marks in a row.
You may notice that the bottom middle camera shot is pretty blank at the moment. This is a very small shift. We've got just 3 groups still playing.
Right, because the pair that Mark Anastasi was on, they finished.
Yep, and the pair to the right of them
Right.
finished a little early. So we anticipated needing to keep a close eye on Mark, and we did, but again, he did finish early, so that's why you're seeing that shot with little to no action.
And that's the Anastasi of some sort of relation to Mark, whether it's father or uncle. On lane 4, now we have Tom Shaw 3.
Nice ball.
So that breaks his string of 4 opens in a row after his double to start the game. It's 3rd strike of the game. Almost hits the Anastasi on the head on his backswing.
You can
Gets
see
that
how
ball out.
you can see how Tom could go 900. When he throws the ball in the joint, it's a lot of action. But
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of backspin on the ball.
So the number Tom Shaw is shooting for is 1711. That was the B winning score last year.
So 150 this game would put him there. So he still definitely has the opportunity to do that.
Brandon Dominique now on lane 20. He's off the right.
And
2 Phil. That's
two it is.
that's going to put the nail in the coffin. Maybe not in all the way, but his hopes of a top 5 finish are rapidly vanishing.
That 12th game has really taken a toll on several of the contenders throughout the day in both shifts, actually. Shift from last week's broadcast, you saw the same scenario. And a 1-5 rip for
I
Colin.
was on a spare leave too, for a spare for Colin.
Getting really quiet in the bowling alley right now.
Yeah. Action definitely winding down here. First weekend of the Eastern Classic, the 90th edition of the Eastern Classic, the longest running tournament in duckpin bowling, consecutive years.
You know who was born in 1930?
Pat?
Me. Good guess.
Sorry, 1931. That's the year it began.
Oh, that was
my math was a little wrong there. So Pat was 1 year old. James Earl Jones, born in
Darth Vader.
1931.
really.
Yeah. Leonard Nimoy.
Spock. Wow.
And I don't recognize any of the other names listed here in the flyer. So
I probably do.
But hey, Darth Vader and Spock, those are two big names.
yeah. Robert Duvall.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, James Dean. How
James
could I not
Dean.
recognize that?
Yeah.
Anne Bancroft.
She was like an actress.
Yes.
Well, she
Larry-
wasn't like an actress. She was.
Was an actress. Larry Hagman.
Yeah. I Dream of Jeannie.
JR.
Jr.
Who shot
J- Who
JR?
shot
Yeah.
Larry Hagman?
You would think I would know that given my last name.
Yeah,
but
we're having
I
a
don't.
generational disconnect here in the
You're
booth.
Ewing for crying out
Yeah.
loud.
Angie Dickinson.
Yes. She was Angie. She had a show named Angie.
Rita Moreno.
She was a Hispanic
Dancer, actress.
dancer, comedian, sort of. She was actress.
She was in West Side Story, wasn't she?
Who wasn't?
As we
I don't
see,
know. I'm reaching a little far back for that one. I'm not sure.
As we see Tom Shaw here, Miss. Is that the
It was a
9
4-pinner.
pin?
No, that was his third ball. He had left
Right.
the 1-3-8-9, I believe, and left just the 9 after his second ball.
So he also, his hopes of a B division championship is also
He needs a double.
vanishing pretty quickly.
He needs a double.
Yeah. Judging by the pamphlet here that we get for the anniversary years at the Eastern Classic, the only famous people born in 1931 were actors and actresses.
All right, you're going to make me look at my phone.
Mark Parker hurt by that ball. He got hurt.
Empire State Building also officially opened in 1931.
There you go.
Oh, here's a good one. Guess what a gallon of gas cost in 1931?
I'm going to go with 19 cents.
No.
I already know the answer, so I'm not going to comment.
Was it
I
26
looked.
cents?
Nice shot
You're
by
getting
Colin.
colder.
It was less than 19 cents. It was 26 cents in like 1975. A gallon of gas. Let's go for 12 cents.
Warmer.
Oh my God. What did they run on? Like
Well, it was probably leaded back then, right?
a lot of lead. Yeah. It was less than 10 cents a gallon? It's
It
crazy.
was 10 cents, exactly.
Wow.
10 cents.
Brandon covers a 4-pinner there. So here's a non-actor that was born in 1931, Mikhail Gorbachev.
Dancer.
Rupert Murdoch.
of, right?
Rupert Murdoch, someone who has a little bit more money than me. Jim Jones, he of the Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid Jim. Oh!
William Shatner. So Kirk and Spock both born in
born the same year.
1931.
How come he wasn't listed? Kirk, Spock, and Darth Vader all born the same year.
Another Russian leader, Boris Yeltsin.
He had the tattoo of Yugoslavia on his forehead. Is that the guy?
That was Gorbachev.
And I'll fall down.
Rip Torn from Connecticut.
Rip Torn.
I'm at about a 50-50 hit ratio on names I recognize here.
I
knew
Dream
Rip
of Jeannie,
Torn.
Barbara Eden.
So Larry Hagman and Barb. What?
Born the same year.
What? They were in the same show. He was the master. It's master.
Anyone like the game show Match Game?
Dean.
Charles Nelson Riley.
Really?
born in
I
1931.
thought you were going to say Gene Rayburn.
No.
Well, and the reason we're talking about this is the day is pretty much over for Brandon Dominique and Tom Shaw, our last two remaining bowlers, who had any shot at taking the lead or a lead here at the Eastern Classic. Tom Shaw is shooting for the B division lead. He'll have pretty handily the C division lead and the B division lead going into the second weekend of competition. But like we said, it's around 1,700, 715, somewhere in that range, typically wins the B division. Tom Shaw is not going to hit that. So we'll call him out of it. Brandon Dominique also out of it. He's really struggled this 12th game. Another bad fill on a spare. He needed a 209 to catch Chris Kruger in the open division. Certainly not going to get there. He'll be just over 100 unless he can mark in his 10th frame. We'll stay with you until they both wrap up. But this is almost it for our first weekend of competition, our first week here at the Eastern Classic, 90th annual tournament held at Lucky Strike Lanes. It's been at this bowling center on these lanes for all 90 years. Not always at the same location, but down the street in Willimantic, the original Lucky Strike Lane stood. The first sets of lanes, the wood on those lanes is actually from the original bowling alley. They expanded in, was it 1967? The tournament moved down here to Mansfield.
Colin Dunnick finishing his tournament in style, and his coach is
Chasing this tail there.
He's getting some last-minute instructions from his left
He better
coach.
stop soon.
He's making me dizzy.
Wow. Oh, he's down.
Do it. One more for the show. And a 28 fill in the 10th frame for Colin Dunnick to finish out his 2020 Eastern Classic.
139 his last game.
So he's going to drop a tad average-wise, but probably hang on to that top 10 position at least for this week. Down on lane 4, Tom Shaw is finishing up his tournament with
It's
a
an 8-box, I believe.
8-box for a 126. That'll knock him down a peg, ending up around 1688-ish
Yeah,
for the tournament.
That's a over 100 pin improvement for Tom Shaw. He had 1559 last year. Last year, Brandon Dominique had 1611. So through 12 games, 1703, also a near 100 pin improvement for him. So that's it for us here at the Eastern Classic. For shifts 1 and 2, we have all bowlers, not all bowlers, but all of the top bowlers in the clubhouse here. We're still waiting on John Esposito's final score for Game 12 for our leaderboard. Yes. So that'll be it for Pat Rufo and Jim Kaufman, joined by Steve Korick and Chris Cano on Statistics and Cameras. I'm Brian Ewing. Please share and like our videos, Duckpin TV, on Facebook and YouTube. That's the best thing you can do for the sport of duckpin bowling and for Duckpin TV in general. Again, like and share. Get other people to like and share. For all of us here at Lucky Strike Lanes, good night.